Welcome.
Attention, please.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome to the No Comfort Zone podcast. It's time to get out of your comfort zone and live on purpose. Broadcasting to the world from Rockford, Illinois. This is your wake-up call.
Warning.
You are the solutions to all your problems. Stop thinking average. Become the hero version of yourself. Every day, every time, without fail, no exceptions. It all matters. You've entered the No Comfort Zone. It's time for a reality check.
Life is what you make it. Hey, this is Dan, the No Comfort Zone guy. Last night, I had the opportunity to stop in to one of the dealerships, and I actually met a really great guy that I met a couple years ago. And in my conversation with him, just, I had to drop off some paperwork, and we started chatting it up. My 10-year-old was with me. That's what I went to go do. I went to Bloomington to go pick him up last night so we could spend the weekend together, and found out some good news that, and this is good news, that schools are going to be closed because apparently there's something going on in the world right now. And so schools are going to be closed for a bit. So my son's first thing he said when I saw him was, man, I've got to stay with you for a whole week. This will be great. I said, yeah, buddy, but I got to work. Because we're still working. We're still doing what we do. Because, the world keeps moving, right? So when we were driving back, I let him know I got to drop off some paperwork. And when I went in, I was happy to see a guy I met a couple years ago. And, I don't know why or what happened or why we got on the subject, but he brought up the fact is, we were talking about what's going on in the world, and he kind of went into his story, and it's the first time I ever heard his story. And it's not like he was just, putting it out there. He's like, man, you're not going to believe what I've been through. And if you got 2 minutes, and it took about 5 minutes for him to tell me his story. And I was just amazed. I'm still amazed. Here's the first thing. He talked to me and my son. He didn't just talk to me. He acknowledged my son, and he had a conversation with me and him, which is pretty cool. So if you're an adult out there and there's a 10-year-old around, include him in. You're teaching that young man or that little, young man, young lady, how to become a better person. And you just include him in the conversation. And the conversation impacted my son because of his way he did it, but also, his way of telling his story. I was honored that he told it to me. And he mentioned to me that, his daughter was born with some birth defects. And then he showed me some of the x-rays and things and what had happened. Some of the story is that, she had some challenges while she was being born, and the doctors had to give him some choices, and he was pretty upset at those choices, but he decided to let live. And what's great is, obviously his daughter's, a lot older now, and she's driving and stuff, but then he came back and he showed me another picture of her being, having issues with strep and how she was induced and all that to make sure that she was healthy. And himself, he's dealing with a terminal illness. I think it's a terminal illness. There's no cure for it. So he has to go for, chemotherapy every now and again. And the reason why I'm telling you this is because the man's disposition on life is inspiring to me. In light of everything that's happening in the world, when I woke up today, it's the first thing I thought about is his story and my no comfort zone. Now, I made stupid decisions, and I tried to find safety and security, and I was misdiagnosed as being depressed, misdiagnosed as bipolar, alcoholic, drug addicted. All of those things were on the table. And truth is that, these are things that I worked at in my life, and I had consequences because of my, feelings, my choices, my decisions. Well, here's a guy who just, wanted to live his life and was dealt some major blows, but he stays positive. And he said, sometimes he has rough days and his words cry in the shower, but at the end, he's got a family that loves him, and he's just, getting by and making sure he's taking care of himself today in light of everything that's happening with this coronavirus going on. There, I said it. And it goes with what I started earlier in the day by saying, I'm going to spend my time focusing on my things I can control, and I'm also going to make sure that I have the right attitude in place, and I'm going to make sure I do the activities that are necessary to help the next person next to me. It's a no big deal approach when you're out there helping somebody else. Yeah, I'll do whatever you need to do. It's not easy to do sometimes, but it sure is worthwhile. So I wanted to reconnect with you today and just say, thanks for the support of the podcast. I'll always say that because I never thought that this would work. I just was like, so afraid to do my first podcast, and it's horrible. The first one I did, it was terrible. I didn't know what to do, and the guy that told me to start doing these podcasts, the guy that instructed me that, hey, a podcast is a great way for you to go, and it'll help a lot of people if you get your word out there. And he's the number one motivational podcaster actually in the world, and that's the guy that I am connected with, and I think we're friends. He's mentoring me through the podcast world. But what's great is the guy just to get it out there, just get going and start talking. Your voice will come. And what's crazy, I want to tell you this, that I had no idea I'd be connecting with so many cool people, and my focus is now trying to help more people. Now, I tell people all the time that I'm here to help you get out of adversity or go after your goals. I believe that it's how you look at things and your focus, and I believe the blueprint will help you. I really believe this. It's not like how cool would it be if you could solve some of your problems and have some of your goals achieved? How would that be for you and your family? And let's say you get diagnosed or you have some really bad news. What's the mindset to keep you happy? Well, I was the pity party. I was the victim guy for a long time. And I just decided to myself, no more. I'm done with that. That part of my life is completely over. I'm done blaming. I'm going to accept responsibility for everything good and bad that happens to my life, which, believe it or not, some of the good stuff I was embarrassed to acknowledge because of it just was awkward to get acknowledged for doing a good job with something, because that's how low my self-esteem was. And my self-esteem was low because I didn't make necessarily the best choices. I didn't do things with a lot of integrity, or I just did things and just got by. In the big picture of life and everything else, who you are when nobody's looking is really what matters. But I think also when the opportunity comes, will you show up? And since, I think it's August 22nd. I think it's August 22nd, 2017. No, it is August 17th, 2017. Hell, I don't know. I forget. It's such a long time ago. But I've been showing up every day since then, and I've did a couple podcasts about showing up. It's time to show up at the alarm clock on time. Don't hit the snooze button. It's time to show up at the shower on time. When you have that challenge or that issue that you have to deal with, and I've got a lot of uncomfortable things I have to deal with today especially, but it's that showing up and trying to figure out the best solution for everybody involved, so it's a win-win, So I just want to let you know that I was inspired by that meeting that I had yesterday, that there's always somebody that's got it worse off than you do, and some of this stuff's out of their control. But what you can control, you can focus on your attitude, you can focus on the outcome, you can focus on your activities, and you can also focus on the amount of effort you put in there. And if you do all that for the right reason, by serving the greater good, you're gonna be successful, you're gonna be happy, and you're gonna start living in accomplishment. That's what I hope for you. And the best way that I know to do that is to get out of your comfort zone and live on purpose.
Say goodbye.
Want more of the No Comfort Zone? You can follow Dan on Instagram and Twitter at NoComfortZone1.
Bye.
Or on the web at thenocomfortzone.com.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the No Comfort Zone podcast.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.